Hello and welcome to my latest weekly video news from Madison's. Well, I've returned from a week of skiing in the French Alps. Not much snow, that's scary, but returned to a good, strong, feeling like it's going to be a buoyant spring market, and that was supported by the latest Rightmove house price index which came out this week. So everything is looking much more favourable. Prices are up 0.1% when tracked against this time last year, and indeed prices of properties going to market is up by 0.9%, which is the first time that they've been up for the last 6 months. Over the last 6 months, every month properties going to market have been going down. So that's great news. A 16% increase in buyer demand, 7% more available properties for sale. So lots of really strong indicators, but it's very, very clear according to Rightmove that this is a market of two halves, highly price sensitive. So properties that go to market price correctly will sell fast and for a good price. Properties that are overpriced, stagnant, they're left on the shelf, they're not selling, and sellers will keep blaming it on these dreadful market conditions as to why they've not sold. That's not true at all. Just need to be priced correctly in this market. It's taking the longest time to sell an incorrectly priced property since 2015. So this is a market that will not tolerate big prices or over-optimistic prices at all. But generally, all good indicators. Mortgage rates coming down, inflation looking more encouraging. Our negative media commentary seems to have reduced. Spring is coming, so lots of factors that feel this could be a good spring market. And of course, we have the budget coming up in early March, the spring budget. Be really interesting to see what Jeremy Hunt pulls out. There's an election coming up this year. They've announced it's going to be the second half of the year, but this will try to be an election-winning budget, but he hasn't got much to play with. All the international markets have said they would not look favourably on tax cuts in the UK, but he's going to have to do something, isn't he? What might he be looking at for the property market? Well, he could look at stamp duty. That is called for a lot to be looked at. If he does tinker with it, it will be for first-time buyers to help them get on the market. There's also talk of the 1% deposit, one of the biggest issues that stops first-time buyers getting on the property ladder. It's not the mortgage payments, they're actually cheaper than renting, but it's the deposit. So they're looking to government back a 99% loan that would allow first-time buyers to get on the property ladder. But stringent affordability tests, don't know if the banks will go for that. And there'll be something to do with building new homes, land, and maybe landlords to encourage them to stay in the market. But let's wait and see. He's got to do a lot. He's got to try and do enough to win an election, but he hasn't got much to play with. So I will be watching that with great interest. You know I love a Japanese knotweed story. I had it at my last house, actually. The reality is if there's a property with Japanese knotweed on it, then a lender will only lend if there is a management plan in place, and that is an insurance-backed scheme sitting there as well, because it can be very destructive to buildings, but it's not as bad as you might think if carefully managed. The Japanese knotweed that we had was spotted by our gardener behind our summer house. We knew nothing about it. We caught it quite early on, and it was inconsequential. I mean, I think when we left, there was one stalk about this big on it. It was pathetic, and this wonderful man would come around each year and just spray it, charge us £60 and go again. So it wasn't a big deal at all, but it's really important that you do identify it early. If you are a neighbour to a property and your neighbour has not been vigilant on identifying it, you can take court action against them. So it's really serious. And Environet, interestingly, released some interesting figures on what gets sent to them is incorrectly or worried about. This could be Japanese knotweed, but it's not. So it's a free service. You can take a picture of the plant, send it to this Environet resource, and they will come back to you with a diagnosis. And did you know that 26% of Japanese knotweed is incorrectly identified as bindweed? So bindweed, people worry about. It looks a bit similar to Japanese knotweed because it's got heart-shaped leaves. But the main difference with it is it wraps itself around another plant. That's how it grows. Japanese knotweed is very much happy to stand on its own. It has these very strong cane-like structures that come up. Dogweed as well, that's got quite reddish trunk to it, which is another characteristic of Japanese knotweed. So that was the second most commonly mistaken plant for possible Japanese knotweed. So what are the core things to look out for? Well, early spring, you will see those cane-like roots coming out of the ground. They will start to grow up, and as the spring goes on, the heart-shaped leaves will unfurl. They grow in a zigzag up the shoot, and they have this reddish purplish tint to their leaves. They are deciduous, so in summer, late summer, it has beautiful flower, actually a tiny creamy little flower that sort of falls in cascades. It's why it was planted over here. Very good fast grower. In the height of summer, it will grow 10 centimetres a day if it's happy, so that is phenomenal. That's like that in a day. But then as that autumn comes, those trunks of it turn brown, it loses its leaf, and the cane goes a browny colour. So those are the big characteristics to look out for. Yeah, always interesting. If anyone's got any Japanese knotweed in their house, I'm used to speaking to you about it. Lots of sellers. Do give me a call. Very happy to chat through. Well, we've just launched a lovely property for sale to market just outside Wadhurst and sort of in between Mark Cross. It's a really good value property, excellent value. 5 bedrooms, fabulous reception rooms, really well presented, lovely little enclosed garden, £825,000 detached, fabulous value, no onward chain as well. So if that's of interest, do give us a call. I hope you have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.